Did you know that how we breathe matters? I bet many people never gave a second thought to how they breathe, or if how they breathe matters, or just never really thought about breathing any at all, because breathing is one of those few functions of the body that are both consciously controlled. In other words, we can control how we breathe, but even if we're not thinking about it, they happen automatically. So we breathe automatically without thinking about it, but we also can control how we breathe. So I just wanted to talk a little bit today about why how we breathe matters. So number one, the first reason why how we breathe matters is that how we breathe affects how our body functions and therefore how we feel. So generally speaking, we want to be breathing deeply into the belly, what we call diaphragmatic breathing or deep belly breaths. Now, obviously, this is not all the time. If we're exercising or running or in some situation where we need to be breathing differently, there are occasions when you can be breathing differently, and that is actually the best thing to do. I'm talking about in general, when we're calm, we want to be breathing deeply and really allow the air to get into the lower chambers of the lungs. So when we breathe deeply, we are nourishing the body, allowing the maximum amount of oxygen, which is the body's nourishment, into our bodies, which just overall help us to function better, to feel better. Breathing deeply is the most efficient way, generally speaking, to breathe. It gives us the most benefits from our breath. So that is the number one reason why we really want to be thinking about and aware of how we breathe, because how we breathe affects how our body functions, how well we nourish the body, as well as how we feel. So of course we want to all feel energized, we want to feel relaxed, we want to feel calm. So the opposite is that if you're not breathing deeply, if you start to breathe generally in a shallow way, or shallow breathing, more up into the chest as opposed to down into the belly, shallow breathing, which again is a breathing pattern that many of us had, myself included, shallow breathing does not allow you to take in the maximum amount of oxygen into your body. It doesn't nourish you as well, and it can also lead to making you feel stressed and anxious, because if you think about it, when you're feeling stressed and anxious, you tend to breathe more shallowly. A lot of us have a tendency maybe even to hyperventilate. It can also lead to panic attacks and just a general feeling of being stressed and anxious, just simply because of how we're breathing. So we want to be thinking about breathing deeply as opposed to breathing shallowly, which can affect our feelings of well-being. So that is really the second reason why our breathing is so important and why our breathing matters, that it can actually help to relieve our stress and anxiety. So if we feel like we're generally stressed or feeling anxious about something, just focusing on our breath, deepening our breath, making a conscious effort to breathe deeper can help to relieve that anxiety, can help us to feel less stressed. It can actually help us to manage panic attacks, which I know many people suffer from. And in my own case, it has helped me at least twice to manage a panic attack that I was having, one time on a plane. Actually, both times were on planes, when for some reason unknown to me, I started panicking on a plane, which I have never done before. And if it wasn't for my yoga breathing and my understanding of how to use the breath, I think I would have been having a much worse time. But if I focused on my breath, I just did about 5 minutes of deep breathing and the panic attack went away. It completely went away as a result of my deep breathing. I have a whole talk about this, so I will put that link below if anybody's interested. So it is one of the most powerful uses of our breaths is to help us to manage stress and anxiety. Focusing on our breath, doing deep breathing practices, which I also will put a link to below, help us to manage stress and anxiety and help us to feel so much better. So the third reason is that how we breathe actually can affect our cardiovascular health. So we know that cardiovascular issues is one of the top reasons that people get seriously ill, and just a simple practice of focusing on our breath, having, generally speaking, deep breathing, it can help us to improve our cardiovascular health. Deep breathing can help to reduce our heart rate, it can help to reduce blood pressure, and this is all just a simple breathing practice, focusing on breathing deeply as opposed to breathing shallowly. Now, of course, there are many more reasons why our breathing matters and how it can help us, but those, for me, are the three really important reasons why how we breathe matters. So now if you're thinking, well, how do I know how I breathe? How do I know if I breathe into my belly or into my chest? Because how we breathe matters, and there is definitely a way that you can breathe, which will give you more optimal benefits than the other way. So a simple way to figure this out is to simply place one hand on your chest or your heart center and the other hand on your belly. Close your eyes and just breathe. Don't change anything, don't think about it. Just simply bring your one hand on your belly and one hand on your heart center or your chest and see if you can feel where is moving. So if you pay attention, you may notice that you're breathing more into your chest. In other words, your chest is moving, your shoulders are lifting, you feel more movement going on in your upper chest, or if you feel your belly moving, your belly rising and falling as you breathe, then your pattern is that you breathe. More than likely, your pattern is that you breathe into your belly. So when I did this exercise for myself, I was really surprised to learn that I was a chest breather. I used to breathe completely up into my chest, very shallow, not breathing into my belly almost at all. And it was not until I started to really pay attention and to focus on doing more belly breathing that I'm now able, well, I think I probably still have the tendency to breathe up into my chest because we're talking about, many years of that habit. But I am now conscious of it, and I make an effort to spend time doing belly breaths. So I would encourage you to figure that out for yourself. Do you breathe into your chest? Do you breathe into your belly? Just by doing that simple exercise. And then what you can also do is even if you are a natural belly breather, it's still a great idea to spend some time every day doing, let's say, 10 deep breaths into your belly. So you could do that first thing in the morning. As a matter of fact, it's a great way to start the day, or you can do it throughout the day, especially if you start to feel stressed or anxious, or you can do it right before you go to bed. Just, again, you can lie down, you can sit down, put your hands on your belly, and just breathe 10 deep breaths into the belly. So you're just slowing down the breath, breathing into the belly. So as you inhale, the belly expands. As you exhale, the belly softens. And that's all you're gonna do, 10 deep breaths. And I challenge you to see how you feel before you do that, and then see how you feel after. I'm pretty sure that you're gonna feel better after you do 10 deep breaths. Super simple. As a matter of fact, my good friend, Dr. Karin Fraser, who is a therapist, a psychologist, says that breathing is one of the cheapest and most effective forms of healing. So I'm quoting Dr. Fraser. Cheapest and most effective form of healing that we have at our disposal. So that's really what I wanted to share with you today.